To say the left has gone a little bit too far in taking down statues they deem racist would be an understatement at this point, as we've seen Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and now Ulysses S. Grant taken down across the states. And if you're wondering, was that the Ulysses S. Grant who was the head of the Union Army who defeated the Confederates and then took strong action to destroy the KKK? Yes, him. Now, there are three major arguments as to why you do not take down statues, and in no particular order, we'll go over them. So this is important because we need to have conversations, right? What I hate about the media, and this is what I was mad about the Colin Kaepernick thing, is the media say, well, it's great that we're having these conversations now. No, we're not. No, nowhere in the mainstream media am I seeing any type of productive conversation. No, these mythical conversations don't exist. So the conversation needs to be had, or the points that need to be defeated by the left that they are not addressing are threefold here. Okay, the first argument against it is the Condoleezza Rice argument of the sort of, learn these lessons. So when you see statues of Confederate monuments, and I mean, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez has a tweet about this. We should ask ourselves why, as a country, we're putting up statues of slave owners instead of abolitionists. And yes, this is Condoleezza Rice's argument. You've managed to make the point and miss the point at the same time. Now, there are statues all across the states of abolitionists, but there are some also of Confederate slaveholders. The point she made is you're supposed to show these statues to your children and say, listen, at one point, this country was a country that had no problem with people like this. Or these statues were put up. And you don't destroy them, you put them in a museum so we can talk about them, right? You don't hide your history. This is the you learn from your mistakes argument, right? This is, right, again, Jewish. The Holocaust is terrible. I'm not advocating for another Holocaust. Never will. But I don't want them to take down Auschwitz. Right? Auschwitz is bad. What happened there is evil. Nazis were evil. The concentration camp guards there were evil. But we keep Auschwitz up as a monument and a reminder to human beings of the evil that they are capable of if they go down a dark path, right? You learn from this. You don't tear it down, right? You learn. You keep it up. Okay, the second argument is the mob and the radical left and the control of history, the Orwellian nonsense all surrounded in that you have to fight back against. All right, the second thing here is the attempt to destroy history and rewrite history. We must be terrified of people who attempt to do that. All right, Orwell was a socialist. But even he, in the 1950s, realized, oh, here's how this thing can go really, really, really wrong. And he wrote Animal Farm, and then he wrote 1984, which is pretty much a sequel in some ways. So the argument is, it's going too far, right? There is no appeasing the mob. There are people who want to rewrite and control history. And when they rewrite history, it leads to totalitarian states. Right? So when, right, it's also tied into the sort of slippery slope thing here, right? There's a great video of John Oliver mocking Donald Trump in 2017 for Trump saying, yeah, you want to tear down these Confederate monuments today, but when does it stop? Next week will be Washington, the next week Jefferson. And he's like, oh, stupid, Donald Trump, that's like saying you can give your children licorice, and then all of a sudden they've been doing heroin, what a dum-dum. And Love's like, ha ha ha, that's so stupid. But now they're like, no, tear down the statues of Washington and Jefferson. And apparently Ulysses S. Grant too. So, you can't give in to the mob. You can't let a mindless, angry mob dictate policy. You can't. You can't give in to, right? Sean King, who I love, the fake black guy who's on the radical left. And yes, he's a nobody, but he has over 1 million Twitter followers. He put out a tweet today saying we need to tear down statues of Jesus because they're a symbol of white supremacy. This is how insane it's getting to. You cannot capitulate to the mob. The mob is never satisfied. So that's another thing. Totalitarian ideologies cannot be satiated. Ever. They're totalitarian. And the third argument around statues is the preservation of beauty. Okay? We might not like everything, but why do people go to Venice? Right? Because it's a beautiful city. Now, it's also built on canals. But why do lots of tourists go to Europe? Because Europe has old history, right? And it's great architecture that stands there. It's one of the reasons why more people go there than certain parts of the Middle East. And it's not like, oh, the Middle East has no culture. Middle East has harsher climates and has eroded more of their historic monuments. And some of it is a lot older that it's decayed. That there's a certain inherent value in preserving beauty, and this would be seen down the road in 300 years in the United States when you have sort of old monuments and great architecture that has stood that people want to go and see and learn about. It provides innate value. So it's like, oh, this is fat shaming or whatever people are going to misinterpret it as. No. Right? There is an inherent value to the preservation of beauty. the preservation of history, good and bad, right? So those are the arguments that the radical left needs to defeat, that there's no even attempt to defeat. And there's a way of like that you need to ask the people on the left. And I think the best example of this is sort of the banning the Confederate flags in NASCAR. And if I had to vote of, are Confederate flags good or bad, I vote bad. Okay, so I would not fly one. But there's a question you have to ask of, do you want to tear down the Confederate flags, or do you want to convince the other side to take down their Confederate flags? What is a better result, right? That's the question that needs to be asked. Like, it's not, what's more important, winning or how you win? So when you just unilaterally tear them down, like, great, you don't have them, and then, the two black fans of NASCAR can feel more comfortable at the racetrack. Okay. But by just not having these conversations, not engaging, saying, okay, here are the arguments against the Confederacy, that's a video for another day, the Confederate flag and steel manning arguments for and against. But this is another thing the left needs to consider. You need to have these conversations. You need to deal with these 3 points. You need to show that they're actually, people on the left, the leader of the 1619 Project is tearing down the destruction of Washington and Jefferson. So there is no leader on the left who's saying, whoa, 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 whoa. This has gone way too far. Washington and Jefferson are off the table. The people tearing down these statues are radicals, and we need to toss them out of the movement. There's no leadership from that. Everyone's sort of ignoring that right now. So these are the arguments that need to be addressed, that have not been addressed, and it doesn't look like they will be addressed. But a man can hope, can he?